Hello, it's Reverend Chris Taylor here again, and if you remember, yesterday's story was the first part of chapter 4 of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, and the story was about Eeyore losing his tail. And Winnie the Pooh goes to find Owl, and he's just knocked and pulled and pulled and knocked at Owl's door, and Owl has looked out. "Hello, Pooh," he said. "How's things?" "Terrible and sad," said Pooh, "because Eeyore, who is a friend of mine, has lost his tail, and he's moping about it. So could you very kindly tell me how to find it for him?" "Well," said Owl, "the customary procedure in such cases is as follows." "What does customary proceed cake mean?" said Pooh, "for I'm a bear of very little brain, and long words bother me." "It means the thing to do." "Oh, as long as it means that, I don't mind," said Pooh humbly. "The thing to do is as follows. First, issue a reward. Then—" "Just a moment," said Pooh, holding up his paw. "What do we do to this? What you were saying?" "You sneezed, just as you were going to tell me." "I didn't sneeze." "Yes, you did, Owl." "Excuse me, Pooh, I didn't. You can't sneeze without knowing it." "Well, you can't know it without something having been sneezed." "But what I said was, first issue a reward." "You're doing it again," said Pooh sadly. "A reward," said Owl very loudly. "We write a notice to say that we'll give a large something to anybody who finds Eeyore's tail." I see, said Pooh, nodding his head. "Talking about large somethings," he went on dreamily, "I generally have a small something about this time in the morning," and he looked wistfully at the cupboard in the corner of Owl's parlour. "Just a mouthful of condensed milk or what not, with perhaps a lick of honey." "Well then," said Owl, "we write out this notice and we put it up all over the forest." "A lick of honey," murmured Bear to himself, or not, as the case may be. And he gave a deep sigh and tried very hard to listen to what Owl was saying. But Owl went on and on, using longer and longer words, until at last he came back to where he'd started, and he explained that the person to write out this notice was Christopher Robin. "It was he who wrote the ones on my front door for me. Did you see them, Pooh?" For some time now Pooh had been saying yes and no in turn, with his eyes shut, to all that Owl was saying, and having said yes last time, he said no, not at all now, without really knowing what Owl was talking about. "Didn't you see them?" said Owl, a little surprised. "Come and look at them now." So they went outside, and Pooh looked at the knocker and the notice below it, and he looked at the bell rope and the notice below it, and the more he looked at the bell rope, the more he felt that he'd seen something like it, something else, somewhere else, sometime before. "Handsome bell rope, isn't it?" said Owl. Pooh nodded. "It reminds me of something," he said, "but I can't think what. Where did you get it?" "Well, I just came across it in the forest. It was hanging over a bush, and I thought at first somebody lived there, so I rang it. Nothing happened. And then I rang it again, very loudly, and it came off in my hand. And as nobody seemed to want it, I took it home and—" "Owl," said Pooh solemnly, "you made a mistake." Somebody did want it.
Who?
Eeyore. My dear friend Eeyore. He was fond of it.
Fond of it?
Attached to it, said Winnie the Pooh sadly. You can see Pooh looking at the knocker, or the bell pull, with Owl. So, with these words, he unhooked it and carried it back to Eeyore. And when Christopher Robin had nailed it on in its right place, there he is, nailing it on in its right place, Eeyore frisked about the forest, waving his tail so happily that Winnie the Pooh came over all funny and had to hurry home for a little snack. There's Eeyore frisking. Unaccustomed frisking for Eeyore. And Winnie the Pooh came over all funny and had to hurry home for a little snack of something to sustain him. And wiping his mouth half an hour afterwards, he sang to himself proudly. "Who found the tail?" "I," said Pooh, "at 1:45. Only it was 11:15 really. I found the tail."